So, welcome on board, everyone. Now, the sound today might be a little tricky. The waves are fairly big and they are not so far behind me. Um, and if the waves are too loud, please let me know if anybody comes on board here so that I can close the door behind me. Um, welcome on board and welcome to Monday night. Hey, LEK. Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Nice to see you, dear sister. So welcome on board, everyone. We're here as a reminder. Again, we're going to remind ourselves of our self. Who you actually are deep down within. One of the big jobs that I have is to Serpent Visionary Oracle. Welcome on board. Thank you. I am still traveling, yes. I'm grateful you're here, LEK. I'm so grateful we are all here that we get to meet in this spiritual space, in this like inner space where what happens here, if you're new to this, and even if you're not new to this serves as a reminder of our returning home to ourselves, to our core energy, to drown out some of the outside noise. The world is full of noise, right? The the media, social media, news media, everything is a lot of noise. And when you are able to disconnect from that outer noise and move your awareness deeper into yourself, our experience changes. We experience life very differently. There you go, yes. Oh, wonderful, Serpent Visionary. Yes, absolutely. When we can disconnect from the outside noise, and we can return back home into ourselves, into our original core energy, and like the theme is today it is about touching our innocence. Sitting with your original self. And this can be a bit of a tricky journey at first, because our minds, we're so used to being busy. We are so used to having an opinion of who we are. We are so used to having our minds telling us, well, I am this way and I am that way and I'm not good at this or I am great at that. Your programming can be different, right? Like some of us have more of a negative self-talk and other people have a little bit less negative self-talk. It kind of depends on how the messages you receive growing up, and how strongly you can listen to your original energy, how much you can hear your soul's calling. Are you able to listen within? Are you able to hear your heart, your higher calling, and what you're here to do? And don't shame yourself if you're not. If you're not able to hear it. But if you're really honest with yourself, and if you really sit with your deeper energy, your core self, usually messages show up for us. Usually things show up for us that tell us who we actually are. And it's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful experience of coming back home, of returning to your innocence. And in one way of looking at it, your innocence is your self before the outer programming got a hold of you. In a way, we can say that it's like living in Eden, in paradise. In a way, we can say that when we look at children who, before the age of 7 or 8 or so, often remember and feel things that as a grown-up we completely forgot. Many children are in touch with something deeper. They are in touch with a mystery, the great mystery of life. And as you can be in touch with that, you become much more present to your now, to this here now. And we can release those worries about the future, and we can release the regrets, the anxiety, the negative feelings about the past. Because as we move our awareness into the now, we become aware of our life force energy. And as you sink into your own body, as you're able to release the noise, moving into your heart, and moving further down into your body to your sacral chakra, to your root chakra, you begin to hear and feel what your mission is on this planet. You may start to recognize that raising our vibration is just a part of this journey. It's of course very healthy and healing to go within, recognize our traumas, recognize our triggers, looking at ourselves in an honest light. It's very healthy. But when we go further and we start to feel that movement of life force energy in your body, and we begin to recognize that life moves forward all the time. That yes, we sit in stillness, but even as we sit in stillness, we are moving forward. And as we begin to become more present of what's going on inside, and we feel that movement, we can let go of some of the tragic pasts, some of the trauma. So bringing yourself back home becomes the main job. Becoming aware. Both, first we become aware that there is noise, that our minds are creating a lot of noise, that the self-talk that's going on for all of us most of the time is not who you actually are. That the self-talk that's going on in here is only part of your negative program. Sort of malware. We can call it malware, we could call it viruses. In the Toltec tradition, they call it the parasite. It's from the Four Agreements, right? The book, The Four Agreements. So, when you start to recognize, oh, the parasite got me. When I'm afraid of the future, when I believe that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, when I believe that things are so dark, that's the parasite. That's the fear that's creeping into your life. Yes, it is Serpent Visionary Oracle. The Four Agreements is a beautiful book. It's a life-changing book. Somebody made a comment last week and they said, have you read all those books? And yes, of course. And if I were to give a reading list, I would include my own book, The Four Elements, We Are Earth Mother. But I would also say an autobiography of a yogi by Mahansa Yogananda. I would say The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I would say The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. I would say Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Sebastian Bach. I would say, oh, there's so many beautiful books. But those books can be a very good foundation for learning more about the spiritual way of life and learning more about the deeper reality that we live in. Some of these books are so deep that they take a lot of reflection to integrate. They take a lot of inner work to experience deeper and deeper and deeper. But they are beautiful. And then as we read these books, we begin to implement the wisdom into our lives. If we read an autobiography of a yogi and we start to sit with that. Oh, thank you, Serpent Visionary. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. This Friday, I'm going to be up in Mammoth Lakes in California to do a book signing at this favorite coffee shop of mine up there. And that's very exciting. So when we take in the information, so those books, they serve as guideposts. They serve to help us understand our reality differently. Most of us have grown up in a society where learning became very important. But the teachings that we receive from regular school has nothing or very little to do with actual reality. Those teachings from regular school, they sort of serve to put us back in the box, deeper into the box. And if we return to the idea that when we are before 7 or 8 years old, we are in our innocence, we are connected to something much deeper. I have a lot of friends who tell me about their children being at before 7 or 8, remembering previous lifetimes, remembering things that they could be impossible for them to remember unless there is an either eternal soul or a much deeper reality going on. I have a friend whose daughter she's the little sister, but she remembers the birth of her older sister. That's right, Serpent Visionary. Public school made you a rebel even more. Can't put you in a box, that's right. I experienced regular school as a form of jail. And I was like, what have I done? Why? What did I do? But of course, on one level, on a very practical level, if we go through school and we are able to get good grades and get a good education, it doesn't really hurt our lives, right? But we must not confuse realities. We must not confuse that the ideas that we are being taught in regular school are not very deep, and they're not very enlightening, and they're not very uplifting. Yes, right, Serpent Visionary? There are good things in regular schools, in the regular school system. But its main job is to put us in the box. And when you look at that, we look at these kids before they're 7 or 8 years old, and then we realize that they're very deeply in touch with something deeper. They're daydreaming, they're seeing things. When they're playing, they are so deeply engrossed or immersed in their play, in their games, that they lose themselves in them. That they experience these. I remember the feelings of playing something, and I was in that world. I remember what that felt like. Then, why school is so hard for so many of us is because now we're supposed to play by the rules of grown-up society. Now we are supposed to be trained to fit in. And what unfortunately happens is that we lose our sense of innocence. We lose our sense of innocence in many different ways, right? We can lose it from traumas in family and violence and anger and negativity or abuse, sexual abuse, whatever it might be. But we also lose our sense of innocence when we are going into school and we learn that everything is made up of atoms. And we learn that these atoms, they act according to certain rules. No development of personal gifts whatsoever. So much imposed with forced stress. Yes, school not fun, especially now. Yes, absolutely. Could not agree with you more. And it's so unfortunate that we put all these children on medication when it's the school system that has changed, not the children. The level of stress in our society has come up like crazy. The children, there's nothing wrong with the children. There's something very wrong with our school system. It's very inhumane. It's not very adjusted. It's not very well adjusted to humans. It's very well adjusted to robots or to being in the box, becoming a number in a society. And so as we start to, then part of why the teenage years are so painful for so many is that if you think about this evolvement, you think about the child being very innocent, being in touch with themselves, and often being pretty real. A lot of times children are very real. Then they come to school, and all that reality is taken out of them. This is part of why it's so painful to be in school, to be a teenager, to go from being a free child into fitting into grown-up society, to learn all the homework, to study all the history, to study all the social sciences, to study all the natural sciences, where we actually don't really learn much of any importance. We learn some things, and it can be beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the learning itself. It's the impetus behind it. And it's the fact that we have to please every person around us in order to be accepted as good people. The fact that the child learns kind of early that in order to be a good person, I have to please my teacher, I have to please my parents, I have to please my friends, I have to please if I get a partner at some point, I have to be the cool kid. When we are in that state, we have absolutely lost ourselves along the way. Then, as grown-ups, or learning how to be grown-ups, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to adjust into society. And it becomes very stressful. It becomes very, very painful. So most of us live our lives cut off from a sense of deeper reality. Most of us live our lives lost to the outer world, where it's more important that you pay your bills, that you are on time for things, that you do this or that you answer all these emails, that you do this or that. More important to do that than that you feel good about yourself in your life. That who we are comes last. Who you are as a human comes last. That everybody else are more important than you. And in that sense, we have absolutely lost our innocence and our connection to reality. You see, reality is much deeper than paying bills and being on time and having a 9-to-5 job. And again, nothing wrong if that's the path you chose, or if that's the path that life gave you. There's nothing wrong inherently with it. But there is something about finding our way back home that is so important. Finding our way into ourselves, into our innocence, into your original core life force energy. Almost like when you feel really good about yourself. Your body responds in a very positive way. And you start to feel yourself, your life force energy, in a new way. And experiencing life that way. Being present in each moment. Being present as if we remember the gift of life itself. We remember that we are a part of the whole. We remember that there is something they refer to as the quantum field, or we can call it the unseen. Freud and Jung would call it the subconscious, the collective subconscious. It's just this energetic field we are all connected to. It's where the dreams come from, where alternate timelines are possible. And that's another interesting thing about our lives. So when we lose our lives, ourselves, to the outside world, which so many of us do throughout our lives, so many lose ourselves. We lose our sense of judgment. We lose ourselves to opinions that are not even our own. And then we live our lives with that sense of either stress or disconnect or discontent or discomfort. But either one of those can serve as guideposts for you to find your way back home. If you can start to notice when your mind becomes full of discontent, when you're complaining and almost whining about everything, can you see that this is part of your programming? Can you see that you forgot your connection to life itself? Can you see that you forgot that your heart, that the fact that your heart is beating, the fact that you are alive in this moment is a precious moment, is a gift. And that no matter how dark the past seems, or how scary the future seems, being alive here and now is a beautiful reminder of the absolute presence behind the physical world. So we live our lives as children being in innocence, most of us. Some of us were robbed pretty early of the innocence, but we were more in touch with it until we got a little older and we started trying to fit into the world. Because somewhere along the lines, the message became, you're not good enough in yourself. You are not good enough the way you are. You need to learn these things in school. You need to have good grades. You need to be Mr. or Mrs. Popular at school. You need to be good at sports. You need to be good at whatever in order to be loved. In order to experience acceptance, we lost ourselves. And as we did lose ourselves, we entered timelines of different vibrations. And if you look at your life, when I look at my life, I can see I've been living in many different vibrations, and timeline shifts have occurred that put me on a new path. And often I've been running into the dark on these heavier timelines, these negative timelines. There's been violence, there's been gangster life, there's been negativity, there's been jealousy, there's been unhealthy relationship, there's been a lot of things in my life, abuse of alcohol. There's been a lot of things in my life that when I came towards the end of that timeline, where actually death or very, very, very serious violence or very serious situations were about to occur, or did occur, just as they were occurring, or if they were about to occur, there was a loud voice inside of me that said, no, Marcus, this is not what you're supposed to do. This is not right for you. And I was lucky enough to listen to those voices. And I was lucky enough to turn and jump onto another timeline. And then in my case, I was also lucky enough to hear what my soul's calling was. Even though that sometimes can be a tough road, it's well worth it, right? It's worth not selling our soul. It's worth listening to your heart. It's worth knowing that when you fall asleep at night, you did what your heart asked you to do. It's worth knowing that we can live in absolute love. It's worth knowing that this love is not an external force of other people. For most of my life, I was chasing love out there. For most of my life, I thought that another person could make me happy. That if only this person made me happy. Right, serpent visionary, right? So worth it, tough at times, but I choose to go forward. Yes, absolutely. What makes it tough often is that our minds are commenting. And our minds are, oh no, not again. And this is the trauma awakening. Often it's the trauma coming back up saying, oh Marcus, you're in it again. You're doing it again. But so most of my life I was chasing outside love. I thought that if the right person loved me back, I would be in bliss and my life would be better. And on so many levels, of course, it's a very natural thing in our world, right? That's what we've been told, we've been taught, we've found out in our movies, in our songs, everywhere we look, we find that happiness is love from another person. But the true reality was that as I came back home and I started being able to touch my own innocence, I started being able to sit with my own life force energy, removing the blocks of negativity that are in the way of those feelings, made the sense of love come up deeply within. Oh, there you go. As soon as ayahuasca came into my life, whoa, been in an interunion for a while now. That's beautiful. Yes. Yes. So that is the thing that we come into our innocence. And as we start developing our own relationship, right? In the South American shaman traditions, they call it Aini. Aini is coming into right relation with spirit. And spirit can take many forms. It can be mountains, it can be the ocean, it can be life itself, it can be lakes, trees. But when it comes down to it, it's your life force energy. And developing Aini, or a connection to yourself, and developing that relationship, where we strengthen our connection to our own life force energy, where we start to recognize and realize that, oh, nobody else can make me happy. We can have fleeting moments of joy with people, but nobody can make me happy. That happiness is inside of you already. Connecting deeply into your innocence. Sierra Sunset, the power of the ocean waves behind you are pushing some beautiful truth through you this evening. Thank you, Sierra Sunsets. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful to see you on here. So when we return to innocence, that beautiful song of Enya, right? We return to innocence and develop a relationship, a strong relationship with that. And then in my case, I sit with that morning and night. Life changes in so many ways. And life becomes this experience where suddenly we are part of the experience. Suddenly we are part of the whole. It's not something that's happening to other people. It's not something that's happening out there. It's happening in here. And that, when I enter that state, and when I can be the observer of myself, the watcher, keeping kind of a close eye on certain things, I can stay connected to life, connected to the innocence that is life force energy itself. See, the negativity and the fear really lives in the mind of man, right? The negativity, gossip, untruths, darkness, heaviness. We can trace that back to separation from spirit. We can trace it back to believing that we can and need to control the world. Not understanding that we are life in our body. And as we develop that aini, that connection to life, and we sit with our innocence, your whole vibration shifts. This is where, if we've been on a heavier timeline, we can jump. And suddenly we're in a new state. And in this new state, it might be easier to meditate. It might be easier to come back home. It might be easier to find your own inner love. To remember that your heart and your root chakra, your sacral chakra is all love. That your willpower, your self-will lives in your solar plexus chakra. And when they start to connect, you become very powerful. And yes, there are still trauma programs running around in the system. But you don't have to be run by them. You can disconnect and heal a lot of the trauma inside. It is a journey. We have to take that journey if we want freedom from our story. If we want to be able to sit in our innocence, if we want to remember that inner feeling of childhood, and we got to sit. We got to be diligent about our practice. Not in a stressful way, but in a loving way. And as we start to feel that our inner love is growing, then the meditation becomes so much easier. Because we see direct results of the meditation. We see direct results of connectivity to spirit. And to different guides that come your way along the way. We all have power animals in our sphere. We all have spirit guides in our sphere. We all have a higher self. But we often forget because we listen to the outside world. And this is where the regular school system can be a problem. Because we're taught that happiness comes if you're successful. Happiness comes with the right partner. Happiness comes if you drive a nice car. If you have a family. If you have a nice house. That's happiness. But that's only material outside stuff. None of that is real happiness. It may add to your feeling of being accomplished. But for you to find you and not get lost in the world of things, you got to sit. You got to come back home. You got to remember who you are. Yes, sir. So I invite you to take your spiritual journey seriously. I invite you to come back home. to take your higher self by the hand and dance. Dance the dance of life. Dance. Be the experience. Not the commentary. Not the voices. Be the experience. Yes. All right, everybody. I think it's time to do a little healing journey. If you'd like to enjoy a few minutes of drumming and energetic healing, you can stay on. And if you enjoyed the talk and you feel like that's it for you, then be well until next week. But right now we're going to go in and do our healing session. LEK, thank you. And I encourage you to sit with an open spirit, open mind, open heart. Thank you, Serpent Visionary. Thank you. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the positive comments, the feelings, the expressions that come through all of you. Because we are walking this path together. We are growing together. Exactly the goal of that. We know the goal, but where it's going, we don't know. What we do know is that we are growing together. And that as we grow, we get more strength in ourselves, and we think of each other, and we get a little smile in our hearts. We think of each other and we go, oh, that's such a lovely person. Or I have such lovely interactions with that human. Sometimes that's all we need. So if I leave a positive impression on you, I'm very excited, I'm very happy. If when you think of me, you're like, oh, I love hearing that, or I feel so good, or, you know, that made it, right? That made it worth it. So, I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate this togetherness. Even if we are in the virtual field, we are still together. LEK. Oh. Coming back into your innocence. See if you can dip into your body, sink into your body. Enter into your inner space, a different state of experience. Where you begin to sit with feeling, with energy, with life inside of you. Instead of just mind, you start to feel in your body. Tayo wahi tayo, tayo wahi toyo. And let that expression come out. Sit in your innocence. Ahiyo. Ahiyo. Te Tayo. 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 Yes, sir. We're going to come in and we're going to help release some of the things that are blocking you from your innocence. Ahiyoko tayo. Ahiyoko tayo. So breathe into the bottom of your belly. Breathe into the sacral chakra. Tao yoko tayo. Eyoko koko tayo. Eko tayo. Ahiyoko tayo. Keep that deep breath going as you envision yourself getting fuller of light. Tayo wahi tayo. Tayo wahi tayo. Tayo wahi tayo. Tayo wahi toyo. Tayo wahi toyo. Toyo yo 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 yo. Hi. Oi, 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 Ai, oi, 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 Ai, 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 ô, tai, oi, ô, ai, yo, tai, tai. Ai, ô, ai, ô, tai, e, e, e. E, ô, toi, ô, tai, ô. Oi, 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 oi. Oh, todaya. Welcome back in the room, everybody. Oh, todaya. Hey, oh, todaya. Take a few deep breaths. Anchor this into yourself. Sit in your inner beauty, in your inner love, in your innocence. This is your original self. We are so grateful that you are all here. We're so grateful that we are on this path of healing and growing together. We're going to close up this sacred space. Thank you, Sierra Sunsets. We're closing up this sacred space. We're saying thank you. Namaste. And aho. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely, beautiful week. I'll see you again next week. Thank you, Serpent Visionary. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, Ellie Kay. So glad you're here. Thank you, Johnny Neal. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful week. Bye-bye.